What if Princess Diana, the mother of the future King of England, secretly converted to Islam in the final weeks of her life? What if the Church of England's future Supreme Governor would have had a Muslim mother? On August 31st, 1997, Diana died in Paris alongside Dodi Fayed, a Muslim man she'd been dating for just 2 months. But in those 2 months, according to multiple witnesses, Diana had begun exploring Islam with a devotion that shocked those closest to her. She visited mosques, she read the Quran, she spoke about converting, and some claim she actually did it, in secret, knowing the scandal it would cause. This is the investigation into Diana's spiritual journey, the faith that captivated her in her final summer, and why the British establishment would have done anything to prevent the mother of their future king from becoming Muslim. Let's start with what we know. In the summer of 1997, Diana was dating Dodi Fayed, the son of Egyptian billionaire Mohammed al-Fayed. Dodi was Muslim, though not particularly devout. He drank alcohol, ate pork, rarely prayed, and lived a thoroughly Western lifestyle. But his father, Mohammed, was deeply connected to his Egyptian heritage and Islamic faith. And Diana, always curious about other cultures and spiritualities, began asking questions. Not superficial questions, deep ones. What do Muslims believe? How do they pray? What does the Quran say about love, about family, about purpose? Those close to Diana noticed a change. She seemed more peaceful, more centered, more interested in matters of faith than she'd ever been. But Diana's interest in Islam didn't begin with Dodi. It began 2 years earlier with another Muslim man, the great love of her life that the world barely knew about, Dr. Hasnat Khan. Hasnat was a British-Pakistani heart surgeon working at Royal Brompton Hospital in London. Diana met him in 1995 when she visited a friend recovering from heart surgery. The attraction was immediate. Hasnat was handsome, brilliant, humble, and completely uninterested in fame. He found Diana's celebrity exhausting. He wanted a normal life. And Diana, for the first time since her divorce, had found someone who loved her for herself, not for her title. Their relationship was kept intensely private. They met in secret at Kensington Palace apartment. She wore wigs and disguises to visit him. She called him Mr. Wonderful and told friends he was the one. Diana was so serious about Hasnat that she did something extraordinary. She began learning about Islam, not casually, seriously. She wanted to understand the faith that shaped the man she loved. She obtained an English translation of the Quran and read it cover to cover. She visited Regent's Park Mosque in London multiple times, wearing a headscarf and sitting quietly in the women's section, observing prayers. She met with Muslim scholars and asked questions about theology, about women's roles in Islam, about conversion. Lady Elsa Bowker, one of Diana's close friends and a spiritual advisor, later confirmed that Diana had become deeply interested in Islamic spirituality during this period. Elsa herself was a Muslim convert, and Diana would spend hours discussing faith with her. Diana asked about Sufism, the mystical branch of Islam that emphasizes inner spiritual development and divine love. She was drawn to the concepts of submission to God's will, of finding peace through surrender, of the equality of all people before the divine. For someone who'd spent her entire adult life trapped in rigid protocols and hierarchies, the egalitarian nature of Islam appealed to her profoundly. But Hasnat was conflicted. He loved Diana, but he knew a future together was impossible. His family in Pakistan was traditional. They expected him to marry a Pakistani Muslim woman, not the most famous divorcee in the world. And Hasnat himself couldn't handle the media scrutiny that came with being Diana's partner. Photographers followed them. Tabloids speculated. His private life became public property. In the summer of 1997, after nearly 2 years together, Hasnat ended the relationship. He told Diana he couldn't continue. The price was too high. Diana was devastated. She'd been prepared to give up everything for him, even to convert to Islam if he asked. But he never did. And so she was left heartbroken, questioning everything, searching for meaning. Enter Dodi Fayed, the rebound romance that would define Diana's final summer. Mohammed al-Fayed invited Diana and her sons, William and Harry, to vacation on his yacht in the Mediterranean. There she met Dodi, Mohammed's eldest son. Dodi was charming, attentive, generous. He showered Diana with gifts and affection. He made her feel desired after Hasnat's rejection. And unlike Hasnat, Dodi embraced the publicity. He didn't mind the paparazzi. He seemed proud to be seen with the world's most famous woman. Diana knew it wasn't the deep love she'd felt for Hasnat, but it was something. Companionship, distraction, maybe the possibility of happiness. And with Dodi came renewed exposure to Islamic culture. The al-Fayed family was Egyptian, Muslim, and proud of their heritage. Mohammed al-Fayed, despite his westernized business empire, maintained connections to his faith. He built a mosque in Oxfordshire. He donated to Islamic charities. He wanted his family to remember their roots. And Diana, still processing her spiritual questions from her time with Hasnat, found herself drawn back into conversations about Islam. This time, though, the context was different. She wasn't just exploring a faith intellectually. She was part of a Muslim family's life. She attended family gatherings where prayers were said. She observed Ramadan practices. She was immersed in the culture in a way she hadn't been before. Several people close to the al-Fayed family have claimed that Diana expressed interest in converting to Islam during that final summer. Mohammed al-Fayed himself has stated in interviews that Diana told him she was considering it. He said she asked him questions about what conversion would mean, what would be required, how it would affect her life and her sons. According to Mohammed, Diana was serious about it, not just as a gesture to please Dodi, but because she genuinely found meaning in Islamic teachings during her relationship with Hasnat and was now revisiting those ideas. But here's where the story gets controversial. Some claim Diana didn't just consider converting, they claim she actually did it, in secret, shortly before her death. The evidence for this is circumstantial, but persistent. Dr. Anwar Hussein, a British imam, claimed in interviews that he was approached by someone close to Diana who asked about the conversion process on her behalf. He said he was told Diana wanted to convert privately, without public announcement, because of the scandal it would cause. He prepared materials for her and allegedly arranged for a private Shahada, the declaration of faith that is the first pillar of Islam. The Shahada is simple. You must sincerely declare there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. That's it. No ceremony required. No witnesses technically necessary, though they're customary. Just the words, spoken with conviction, and you are Muslim. If Diana said those words, even alone, even in private, even without telling anyone, she would have been a Muslim in the eyes of Islamic theology. And some believers insist she did exactly that. But why would Diana convert? What would she gain and what would she lose? Let's consider the motivations. First, genuine spiritual belief. Diana was raised Anglican, confirmed in the Church of England, and taught that her faith was intertwined with her royal identity. But by 1997, she'd been divorced, exiled from the family, stripped of her HRH title, and was questioning everything the establishment had taught her. Islam offered something different. A direct relationship with God, no intermediaries, no royal connection required. The idea that a princess and a pauper are equal before Allah would have been liberating for someone who'd been defined by hierarchy her entire life. Second, love. Diana was a romantic. She believed in grand gestures and sacrifices for love. If she thought converting to Islam would make a future with Dodi possible, if she thought it would show her commitment and make his family accept her, she might have done it. She'd considered converting for Hasnat. Why not for Dodi? The fact that her feelings for Dodi weren't as deep might not have mattered. Diana was searching for belonging. If the Muslim community could offer that, if the Al Fayed family could provide the acceptance the royal family never did, conversion might have seemed like a path to happiness. Third, rebellion. Never underestimate Diana's desire to challenge the institution that destroyed her. Converting to Islam would have been the ultimate act of defiance. The Church of England, which had lectured her about duty and sacrifice, would have lost her entirely. The royal family, which had treated her like a disposable commodity, would have been scandalized. Conservative Britain, which had never fully accepted her, would have been outraged. And Diana, who'd already given the Panorama interview and questioned Charles's fitness to be king, might have relished the chaos. If she couldn't be Queen of England, she'd be something the establishment feared even more: a Muslim convert with global influence. But the consequences of conversion would have been severe. William and Harry were being raised Anglican. William was destined to be supreme governor of the Church of England. Having a Muslim mother would have been awkward at best, scandalous at worst. Diana would have faced intense criticism from conservative Christians and tabloids already hostile to her. Her relationship with William and Harry might have been strained if they felt she'd abandoned their faith. And the royal family would have had even more ammunition to isolate her and question her fitness as a mother. Which brings us to the conspiracy. If Diana had converted to Islam, or was planning to, would that have motivated her murder? The theory goes like this. British intelligence services were monitoring Diana's relationship with Dodi and the Al Fayeds. They learned she was considering conversion. They reported this to the establishment, perhaps to Prince Philip, perhaps to intelligence higher-ups, perhaps to conservative religious leaders. The response was panic. The mother of the future king becoming Muslim was unthinkable. It would undermine the Church of England's authority. It would validate Muhammad Al Fayed's family and potentially give them influence over William and Harry's upbringing. It would make Diana even more powerful and unpredictable than she already was. And so the decision was made. Diana had to be stopped permanently. But let's examine the counterarguments. First, there's no definitive proof Diana converted. No certificate, no witnesses who've come forward publicly, no documentation. Dr. Munir Hussein's claims have never been independently verified. Muhammad Al Fayed's statements about Diana's interest in Islam are self-serving, given his own agenda to implicate the royal family in her death. And Diana's closest friends, including her butler Paul Burrell, have said she never mentioned converting. If Diana had taken such a significant spiritual step, surely she would have confided in someone trustworthy. Second, Diana was spiritually curious, but not necessarily committed. She explored Buddhism, met with Hindu gurus, consulted psychics and astrologers, and read widely about different faiths. Her interest in Islam might have been part of that broader spiritual search rather than a decision to convert. She may have found beauty and wisdom in Islamic teachings without feeling called to become Muslim. Appreciation isn't the same as conversion, and Diana was emotionally vulnerable in that final summer, heartbroken over Hasnat, infatuated with Dodi, searching for meaning. Her questions about Islam might have been more about processing grief than genuine religious conviction. Third, the timeline doesn't work for a serious conversion. Diana and Dodi had only been dating for 6 weeks when they died. That's not much time to make such a profound religious decision. Yes, she'd been learning about Islam during her relationship with Hasnat, but that relationship ended precisely because Hasnat didn't want to pursue it further. Without Hasnat as a motivator, would Diana have continued on that path? Maybe, but it's equally possible she was just enjoying a summer romance with Dodi without any intention of converting. Fourth, if Diana had converted, the British establishment would have found out eventually. She was under constant surveillance. Her phones were tapped. MI6 was monitoring her relationship with Dodi. If she'd visited a mosque for a formal conversion ceremony, if she'd met with an imam for instruction, if she told anyone who might have reported it, intelligence services would have known. And if they knew, there would be classified documents somewhere proving it. Yet despite decades of investigations, leaked files, and conspiracy theories, no such document has emerged. That silence is telling. So, what's the truth? Did Diana convert to Islam, or was she just curious? The answer, frustratingly, is that we'll probably never know for certain. What we do know is that Diana was on a spiritual journey in her final years. She was questioning the religious certainties she'd been taught. She was exploring alternatives. She was drawn to the mystical, the compassionate, the egalitarian aspects of various faiths. Islam offered all of those things. And in a different life, in different circumstances, Diana might well have become Muslim. But whether she actually took that step, whether she recited the Shahada and committed herself to Islam, remains one of the many mysteries surrounding her death. Let's talk about what would have happened if Diana had lived and publicly converted to Islam. The media firestorm would have been unprecedented. Conservative tabloids would have run headlines about betrayal and abandonment. Religious leaders would have condemned her or praised her depending on their perspectives. The royal family would have been forced to comment, to distance themselves, or defend her. William and Harry, teenagers at the time, would have been caught in the middle, forced to choose between their mother's new faith and their royal destiny. And Diana herself would have become even more polarizing than she already was. To progressives and Muslim communities, she'd be a hero, showing that faith transcends culture and background. To conservatives and Anglicans, she'd be a traitor, abandoning her heritage. But Diana might have thrived in that role. She'd spent her entire life being criticized and judged. She'd learned to use controversy to advance her causes. If she'd converted to Islam, she would have used that platform to advocate for interfaith dialogue, to challenge Islamophobia, to show that Christianity and Islam could coexist respectfully. She would have visited mosques and churches and synagogues, building bridges. She would have raised awareness about Muslim women's issues, about refugees, about discrimination. She would have been, as she said in the Panorama interview, a queen in people's hearts. Not a religious queen, not a political queen, but a moral one. And that would have made her more powerful than any throne can. Consider the impact on William and Harry. Growing up with a Muslim mother would have shaped their worldview profoundly. They would have been exposed to Islamic culture and teachings from an early age. They would have learned Arabic phrases, celebrated Islamic holidays, understood Islam as a lived reality rather than an abstract other. And as future leaders of the Church of England, they would have brought that interfaith understanding to their royal roles. William, as future supreme governor, might have been the most religiously literate and tolerant monarch in British history. Harry, already rebellious and independent, might have openly questioned whether the monarchy should remain tied to the Church of England at all. Diana's conversion, if it had happened, would have changed the trajectory of the royal family for generations.
But it didn't happen. Or if it did, it died with her in that Paris tunnel. And so we're left with questions. Did Diana convert to Islam in secret? Was she planning to? Did the British establishment know? And if they knew, did they see it as a threat worth killing to eliminate? These questions have no definitive answers, but they reveal something important about Diana. She was a seeker. She was unafraid to question. She refused to be limited by the roles others assigned her. And whether she became Muslim or not, she embodied the spiritual restlessness that defines our modern age, the desire for meaning beyond tradition, the willingness to explore beyond our comfort zones, the courage to choose faith for ourselves rather than accepting what we're told. On August 31st, 1997, Diana died in Paris. In the wreckage of the Mercedes, no Quran was found, no prayer beads, no evidence of Islamic faith. But in Diana's heart, in her final thoughts, as life slipped away, what did she believe? Did she pray to Allah? Did she recite the Shahada one last time? Did she die as a Muslim, or as the Anglican she'd been raised to be, or as something in between? We'll never know. And perhaps that's appropriate. Diana's spiritual life, like so much of her inner world, remains private, mysterious, hers alone. What do you believe? Did Princess Diana convert to Islam in the final weeks of her life? If she did, was it love, faith, or rebellion that motivated her? And if she'd lived to announce it publicly, how would Britain and the world have reacted? I want to hear your thoughts in the comments below. This is one of the most fascinating, untold aspects of Diana's story, and every perspective adds to our understanding. If this investigation gave you new insight into Diana's spiritual journey, hit that like button and share it with anyone interested in faith, royalty, and the courage to choose your own path. Subscribe to Crown Conspiracies for more investigations into the secrets they tried to bury. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next royal mystery.